the Fifth Circuit, the appeals court down south, 3 judges, 2 of them appointed by Trump and 1 appointed by George W. Bush, ruled that the federal law that says that, and this was a law that Reagan demanded because the argument was being made that there was no national health care system in America and people could die sitting out, standing outside or even in an emergency room. And so in, I think it was 83 or 86, they passed this law requiring emergency room physicians to provide emergency life-saving care. And the Fifth Circuit said, well, if it's a pregnant woman and she's dying because, something that has to do with her pregnancy, screw her, to hell with her. You can't save the life of the woman. What's going on with our country here, Congressman?
I mean, this is a continuation of the policies of Donald Trump moving forward. He controls, it seems like, the Republican Party as a cult, as we've talked about before. And when it comes to the issue of abortion, they can't have a position that's too extreme. And, I think what we're seeing is some of these Republican conservative-leaning judges helping solidify these really extreme positions that are completely out of the sync with where the American people are. So, 2024 is going to be a very consequential year, both now and in November. I think that's just one more reminder why we have to care about every single election in this country.
Yeah, especially the one coming up. So normally I ask you, when we start out the show here, when we do this middays with Marks, what's on your mind? What's going on in Congress, or what's going on in Congressman Pocan's life that you wanted to share with listeners or talk about? What's up?
Sure. Well, I think one thing that I just saw this morning, and we had heard it was going to happen, but Bill Johnson, a Republican in Congress, just announced they were going to be leaving on January 21st for another job. You had Kevin McCarthy leave at the end of the year. George Santos was booted. That means the Republican majority is down to, I think, 219 seats, and 218 is the majority. If you thought governing with a 5-seat majority for them was difficult, where we had one of the least productive sessions in recent memory, I can only imagine what a 2-seat margin is going to mean to them moving forward, with a couple very consequential dates happening, with 2 possible government shutdowns coming up in just the next 2 to 4 weeks. So it's going to be a continued mess, even more so.
Are you guys preparing for a government shutdown? Are you fully expecting that?
I honestly don't know how to predict these folks anymore. I mean, any responsible Republicans, and I know there are responsible Republicans left, but they just don't speak out very much, know how dangerous that would be. And, we were fortunate enough when Mike Johnson just got to be Speaker that at least there was some logic, and we did a short CR for what they thought they needed to finish, a continuing resolution they thought they needed to finish so they could actually have a budget done for the year. The problem is they can't even get the votes together with their 5-seat majority, much less a 2-seat majority, to pass appropriation bills so they can negotiate with the Senate. So I don't see what they can do other than have some sort of continuing resolution extension, understanding that they have a ungovernable majority, not so much by numbers, but by their own rules. And there's nothing else you can do. I mean, honestly, having a shutdown, what's going to be the resolution but a continuing resolution anyway, because they haven't passed their bills.
Right.
So, but who knows with, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jim Jordan and Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz, and go down the list of characters, anything could happen.
Yeah, I totally get it. Wow. Okay, shall we pick up calls?
Absolutely.
Congressman Mark Pocan, ready for your calls. Judy in Bombay Beach, California. You are on the air with Representative Pocan.
Good morning, and happiest of the New Year's to you both. I appreciate you both so much.
Thank you.
And this is really a comment, not a question, and I have 2 of them. One of them is, Medicare Advantage. I've heard you both talk about this a lot, and I've never heard anybody explain. My friend, excuse me, who was on Medicare and had a supplemental, and by the time her supplemental kept going up, and so by 9 years in, her supplemental was $300 a month, and she couldn't get a cheaper one. So her only option was to sign up for Medicare Advantage. It's the only way she could afford it. So I just thought that was something I've never heard anybody say on the show before. Yeah, it's horrible. So, and I don't know what can be done about that other than just keep rooting for Medicare for all. And the other thing is that when so I had health insurance under my husband's when he retired from the government. And then he decided to leave me after, we were on that for like 5 years, 6 years. So when I had to sign up for Medicare, I got penalized for the 6 years that I was not on Medicare because they don't see divorce as a critical life change like they do death or something like that. So I think that needs to get in somewhere in the Medicare thing because it's not, you don't, unbeknownst to me or anyway, you kind of suffer the consequences of someone deciding they wanted to walk away. So those are just the two things about Medicare I wanted to say this morning.
Well, thank you, Judy. You said them very well. Let's see what Congressman Pocan has to say about it all. Thank you.
Judy, I think you're going to hear a lot about Medicare Advantage this year because now we have a group of members working actively on this as well as a group of advocates on the outside working together actively on this. And the two issues you raise are excellent issues. One, part of the problem is that people have to do a Medigap supplemental policy on Medicare. And that's one of the things that often you'll be told you don't need to do on Medicare Advantage. The problem is there's all the other problems with Medicare Advantage where you have to go in network. They can deny claims and they deny millions a year, of which when people wind up going through the appeal process, 81% get overturned. So clearly they're just kind of automatically rejecting things in order to try to save money, and that's costing people their lives. So, I mean, you can get cheaper care, but it's not going to be as comprehensive. There is one thing that if we got rid of the overpayments alone that happen in Medicare Advantage, which is $140 billion a year, you could pay for Medigap insurance for every single person in the country who's on Medicare. So that's one more reason why we have to talk about Medicare Advantage. And to your other point, I actually think you might have a bill idea out there. I was not aware. I know there's a penalty when you go back to Medicare. And again, the lobbyists did a good job when they got this bill passed to allow them to call themselves Medicare Advantage, period. But there should be, you're right, if someone has a divorce, that is enough of a life-changing thing. There shouldn't be a penalty then to be able to go on Medicare. And I'm going to take that back and see if there's something we might be able to do about that.